What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of JohnnyVTV Live. Join with me, my boy Nick Durst. How we doing, brother? We missed you last week.
Last week? I missed you last week. You canceled the show.
Well, that's what I mean. Well, no. Listen, that's exactly what I mean. Like, we didn't have a show. We didn't have a show, but we're back at it, ready to go. We're missing our boy Kyle this week, though. We just can't all seem to get on.
We got a big time guest. To fill in for Kyle.
We do. And you know who it is. Do you want to introduce him or do you want me to introduce him? You know what? No, you always introduce him. I got it.
You got it.
Your friend of the show. Very good, dude. Your co-host for You Know I'm Right. We got our boy Joey Calz in the house. What's up, kid?
I'm back. Yeah, unfortunately, Kyle's not here. So we had the opportunity to meet Kyle in person for the first time.
Johnny, how tall do you think Kyle is?
Kyle, 5'10"?
He was like at least 6'1", maybe 6'2".
What?
Yeah, he was fairly tall.
Yeah. Big guy.
Kyle's tall?
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
He's not tall, but he's taller than me. So.
Yeah, but I would picture you as like 5'8".
You're close.
I'd picture you and
5'9". We're shade under 5'10", so
I'm
it says 5'10" on my license.
I'm 6 foot, but Kyle is tall. Kyle is taller than me.
No, you're 6 foot?
Yeah.
I feel like you'd be like 5'10".
No, I got long legs.
He does.
You got those long dancer legs?
He's lanky.
The running legs.
I'm short and stocky. He's lanky.
But Joe, go ahead. What did you think about meeting Kyle?
Yeah, so Kyle was a little taller than I anticipated. He was wearing a really nice Warren Moon throwback jersey, like those baby blues that the Oilers used to wear, which I never understood why they changed the scheme in the jerseys. But so we got the opportunity to meet Kyle in person for the first time when You Know I'm Right. We did our partnership with Away Game Tailgate, and we did it for your Buccaneers. Again,
not my Buccaneers, but
yeah, hometown team.
The hometown team. So we did it for the Buccaneers Jets game, and we had a really great time. And hopefully we could do the partnership again in the future. But we had Kyle at the game.
City Field next year with Johnny V. He's going to come to the. But listen, I mean, Joe, you and Kyle, buddies or something. Johnny, these two guys, they must have thought they were playing in the game. They are throwing 50-yard passes in the parking lot to each other, getting so into it. Like you're watching the U.S. Open with their grunting, throwing these bombs to each other. And then I'm like, Joe, just make Kyle go so deep. Kyle must throw 70 yards, and the ball was 40 yards short of him, and it was hysterical.
Oh, I wish I was there. That sounds like a lot of fun. And honestly, I have to see in person some of these things that you said is true. Like, you're 6 foot, Kyle's 6'1". I don't guys, I don't know if I believe that. I'm sorry. So we have to I have to see that in person.
We also met Joey Volpe. He was there.
No way.
Hello. With Kyle.
Yeah, we had a really good time with them. And
only had about Henry and you were missing.
Yeah.
I was the only one missing.
You and Jay Hen.
That's why we got to get you during the
my
summer.
boy, bro. Jay Hen, we got to get him. We'll get everybody out one spot. We'll get something at City Field.
Sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely. But I want to ask Joe a question first, real quick, because this, I was kind of inspired by a Johnny V tweet over the weekend. You guys were, you must have the same bets there. But I want to ask Joe, in the playoffs, how much does BDE matter, and who's got the most of it?
Right now, I'm trying to think. It's got to be Rodgers going into the playoffs, right?
Well, yeah, but how about it's in his name, my guy Richie B, Rich Bisaccia. I mean, the stones on this guy, unbelievable to get his team into the playoffs, Johnny. I mean, they were going to kneel it out. You take a knee on him. Take a knee on him. He's like, screw you guys. You guys are going home. We're going to the playoffs by ourselves.
You know what? I don't think you retweeted that tweet, by the way. I would say, listen, outside of
Herbert had a great game. Your tweet was about Herbert.
It was Herb. Oh my God. But anyway, Herbie, yes. But since he's not in, Brady and Rodgers obviously have BDE, right?
Yeah.
But I gotta say, I don't think there's anybody in the playoffs right now at the quarterback position that's got more BDE than Joe Burrow.
Oh yes,
Joe Burrow's.
We're gonna get to Joe Burrow here in a minute. We're gonna get to him.
Well, yeah, that brings us into welcome to Wild Card Weekend. Now, we've had a lot of, turbulence over the season with COVID and these stupid injuries, but we finally made it. a stupid Week 18 schedule that like I don't think that we all liked. But nonetheless, we made it. We're here. What stands out to you coming into the playoffs, wild card weekend? Joseph?
Well, go ahead, Jen.
You want me to go first? So again, you're right, Johnny. Nick and I, we hated the whole Week 18 thing.
Cutting out. All
What
right.
a freeze frame there. Look at this guy right now. He's
All right,
back.
I had no clue what just happened. But,
all right, we're back.
But what I will say is I think the trend going into Wild Card Weekend, and we were discussing this a little bit right before we started the show, I think you have the opportunity here to see a lot of underdogs make noise here, I think, in the first weekend. And I like a lot of the underdogs, at least to cover the spread. Now, to win the game outright, I think is a little bit different, but I think of this weekend, I think you're going to get at least 4 or 5 really tough, close, competitive games that are going to be one scores right till the end. I think there's a lot of balance here. Your Rams, unfortunately, coughed up that game, but I think the 49ers were a better team to get in than the Saints. I think they're going to be more entertaining. I think the Eagles have a chance to do some damage against the Buccaneers with all those injuries. I think the Cardinals and Rams is going to be the best game of the weekend. Obviously, that was the game that they placed in the Monday night slot. Raiders go to the Bengals. Patriots go to the Bills. So that AFC East game will be for the third time. And we always like the stats of the teams playing for the 3 times in one season. And then what's the other game? Because the Raiders decided to go for it at the end and kick the field goal and not settle for the tie, that sent the Steelers to go die in Arrowhead Stadium. So bye, Ben. This is going to be your final game. See ya. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Finally. I'm actually disappointed because I like the Chargers team. I think they're pretty talented. It would have been nice to see the Raiders and Chargers get in, but unfortunately, we're going to have to see the Steelers lose by 3 touchdowns on Wild Card Weekend. That's the only game I don't think that's going to be competitive. The other 5 games, I think, are going to be really, really good.
So one of the things that I came across, I think it's very interesting, and for anybody that's betting needs to pay attention to this because, wild card is very unpredictable. Over the last 5 seasons in Wild Card Weekend, underdogs are 15-7 against the spread. There is a lot of upsets brewing this week. There's a lot of there's a lot of dogs barking, bro. It's like Baja Men, bro, who let the dogs out. We got the Raiders, we got the Niners, we got the Pats, we got maybe even not Arizona, but we have a lot of these teams that it's worth a look, and it's absolutely something that you have to pay attention to this part because listen, it doesn't matter how you got to the playoffs. You're in the playoffs. Now all it becomes is about matchups. How do you match up with your opponent? And in the first matchup here, we have the Raiders-Bengals. So, Nick, what are you thinking about this first kickoff game for Wild Card Weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I like both of these teams. What I've been saying all year is when you think the Raiders are going to win, they lose. And when you think they're going to lose, they win, as we saw Sunday night into Monday morning. So I'm going to go with our guy Joe Burrow on this one and Jamar Chase. I mean, they looked great against the Chiefs. They're going to win this game, but it's going to be close. So take the Raiders plus 5.5, and I will say under in this one. I think it's going to be a tight game for the most part. I think the Raiders are coming off with a lot of momentum. The Bengals might be a little sleepy because obviously Burrow didn't play this past week, so see how they recharge there. But ultimately, the Bengals, I think, are a better team, and they will win this game. But the Raiders will cover. So that's the first dog of the weekend that I'm picking.
So, Johnny, I know you have some trends here for the Raiders and Bengals game that you'll like to get to. So I'll make this short and sweet. I do agree with Nick. I think this is a game where you're going to see a lot of heavy Josh Jacobs usage, and I think you're going to see a lot of heavy Joe Mixon usage. The Raiders' game plan ultimately, I think, is going to try to limit how many times Joe Burrow throws. It's very rare because usually when you see a quarterback throw 45, 50 times and more in a game, usually they're doing it from behind. It seems like this Bengals team actually gets stronger as Joe Burrow racks up pass attempts. We saw it a couple weeks ago when they played Kansas City and they went down early in the game. They were able to come back. The Bengals have already beaten the Raiders this season, and they did so by more than a score. But again, these games get much tighter. We're all on the dog train this weekend, so I do think this will be a close game. I do agree with Nick, too. I think this game is going to stay under. I could see like 24-20-ish. I think Derek Carr is good enough to keep his team on the road in this game. And last thing I'll say is death taxes and the NFL putting the Cincinnati Bengals on at 4:30 on a Saturday to kick off Wild Card Weekend. It's just it's something that, tried and true formula. It always works. But yeah, so I know you got a couple trends ready to go.
Real quick, are you guys are riding with the Bengals money line and spread?
No, Raiders with the spread.
Raiders with the spread.
Okay, just wanted to clarify. So Bengals win, though?
Yes.
Okay. Fair points. Here's what I have to say on the matter. The Raiders-Bengals rematch, it is so difficult to not only beat a team twice in the same season, but blow them out twice. There's been a lot of heavy steam coming in on Vegas. They dropped a full point in the last day or so. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Vegas. I think John Madden is like Bonanima. He's like playing angels in the outfield right now. The way Vegas is winning these last few games. It just absolutely makes no sense. But here's what they've done. Since that Week 11 loss where they got ran on by Joe Mixon for 160 yards, since Week 12, they've only allowed 89 rush yards per game, only one 100-yard rusher. That was Jonathan Taylor. What I think is Cincinnati, they have to, try and keep running the ball. But with the improvement of Vegas, they're going to have to throw, and they're going to be able to. They've scored 27 points 8 times this year. That's the same amount of times Vegas has let up 27 against an exploitable secondary. The issue comes with how is Max Crosby in that defensive front going to stack up against this offensive line? Joe Burrow's sacked 51 times. That's the most in the NFL. He's been pressured the 6th most times. It's really a formula where, we could see some pregame jitters and some early game jitters from a young quarterback, even though he's got BDE. We talked about this. He's got swag. I just think he's going to probably come out slow. Jamar Chase really hasn't been that great outside Kansas City, that Kansas City blow-up game, for the last 5 or so weeks. Out of his 1,500 yards, probably 875 has come in 5 or 6 total games. So, the Bengals to me are a little overrated. Now, if you're the Vegas Raiders, they're finding ways to get it done. They got to keep feeding the real-life Van Wilder, a.k.a. Hunter Renfrow. They got to keep going with Darren Waller. Josh Jacobs finally resurging. Ultimately, you know what I say, never fade the road dog getting 5 or 5.5. Not just an old gambling adage that most people don't know about, which, by the way, you're lucky that I'm here to pass this wisdom on to you. But this season, road dogs getting 5 or 5.5 are 9-1 ATS. Since 2010, they're 73-51 ATS. Always take the road dog getting 5, 5.5. Your Honor, no objections. I'm riding with the Raiders to cover this spread. I would not be shocked to see a money line. I don't have a money line play yet, but I'd love a little sprinkle on the Raiders money line.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders won. How do you not bring back Rich Bisaccia next year? I mean, you're already behind you're behind the 8 ball now in interviewing people, and the guy just led you to the top wild card spot. It'd be mind blowing if they don't bring him back, unless they're saying, "Oh, we're getting Harbaugh" or something like that.
I wouldn't even take Harbaugh over this guy. This guy knows the team. He has the chemistry. He's
Italian,
been there.
One of the best Italian coaches in the league.
That's it, man. That's it. And he's Italian. That's a big thing. By the way, Derek Carr also starting his first playoff game of his career, which has been a long time coming. So, even though Carr has never started a playoff game, I do think based off his experience in the league, he's not going to be as jittery. But it brings us to our next game here. This is my game. This is my game of the weekend. My favorite game of the weekend outside the Rams.
Okay.
The Niners at the Cowboys. Cowboys laying 3. Joe, where you leaning with this one, kid?
I'm a little bit different here. I think a lot of people like to stack up when it comes to the Cowboys, and everybody gets involved in jokes and stuff. But I think the Cowboys are a really, really good team. I think they're a really well-balanced team. I think Micah Parsons was a difference maker on that defense this season. And I think while their defense, I wouldn't necessarily call them great, I think they are a really good bend, don't break model. And the fact that the Cowboys have exploded here for a couple of 50-point efforts here towards the end of the season, everybody seems to be clicking on all cylinders, even though they lost Michael Gallup for the season. So this is one of those more conventional games where I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be one score. I could see Dallas winning by a touchdown, 27-20, something like that. So I think it's pretty standard here just to lay the 3. And I think the Kyle Shanahan factor will also play into this because Nick loves hammering his Kyle Shanahan for some reason, doesn't love him with good reason. 2 Super Bowl appearances. He has not the greatest track record in the playoffs. But this 49ers team was behind the 8 ball in the during the first half of the season. But they were like 4-6, I think, and then they ended up coming back and finishing 9-8. So, what was it? No, I'm sorry, 10-7, right? Whatever it is. But I like Dallas in the -3 here.
Interesting. What do you think, Nick?
Joe, I could not disagree anymore. I mean, this is just, Kyle Shanahan, he sucks. So he's going to get lucky here on this one. But they shouldn't have been in the playoffs, but they got in because the Vikings just couldn't get it together. Dak Prescott, the guy's a fraud. He's going to win comeback player of the year. He should not. Joe Burrow should. Ezekiel Elliott got 1,000 yards rushing, but most of those were like in the first 5 games. So what have you done for me lately? Not much. I think, Jimmy G's playing great right now. So I'm going to go with the Niners to win this game. I think it'll be close. I think until I see the Cowboys actually win a postseason game, I'm not going to believe them. Now, we've seen the 49ers win games. Do I think they can win the Super Bowl? Absolutely not. No shot. I think whoever wins this game is going to lose big time next week. But I think I'm going to go with the 49ers in this one.
Oh, and this is another game where I like the under 2. I see it scrolling at the bottom, 50.5. Another game where you're going to see the 49ers try to run it on their own. They like to use, Deebo Samuel and sets like that. And obviously the Cowboys are going to try to get the running game going with Zeke. So I don't think this is going to be necessarily an explosive game for both sides. I think this is going to be more of a standard conventional game. I think that 50.5 total is a little too high.
Ahem. Okay, so I listened to you and I listened to you. I'm going with Nick. I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers. The LA Rams, for as much as I love them, they opened up Pandora's box. They let a bull in the china shop. Nobody wants to face the San Francisco 49ers. I'm kind of equating them to the 2007 Giants when they barely got in. They're very similar. They play strong defense, great running game, quarterback that makes plays when he has to, and they just have a ton of momentum right now. That's the Niners. They are a horrendous matchup for the Dallas Cowboys. I love the Niners this week. This is bet the house. If you don't have a house, go buy one, then bet it. The Niners are like a throwback, like an ode to salt and pepper, a lost generation, the way they play football. What I really think about San Francisco is this is the type of game they can run 35, 40 minutes of time of possession on their own. They live to hammer the rock. That's something they've been reacquainting and recommitting to. That's a staple of the Kyle Shanahan philosophy, the zone run game. Eli Mitchell, he's back healthy. His last 5 games he started, he's got at least 21 carries in each of them. They've been using Deebo Samuel. Here's the thing. If you've watched Dallas this year, who, by the way, has as many quality wins as Bishop Sycamore does nationally televised games, you will know that all of their losses minus Tampa Bay, even their win that they should have lost against New England, have one common denominator. They struggle when teams hammer the ball down their throats. These teams that are running the ball 25, 30 times plus at them, this is where they struggle. So aside from that, let's look at what else they have on offense. They have a few yak daddies on their team. Debo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, all yards after the catch monsters. It would just so happen that Dallas's defense is bottom 5 in yak allowed. So that being said, as long as Jimmy G doesn't make the big mistake or by some miracle, if they don't get down too big and, it becomes a comeback mode, I think this is one where the Niners are going to control the line of scrimmage. And defensively, they don't blitz a lot because they could get home with 4 guys. I think Dak Prescott is good. I think he's very overrated. I don't see them being able to run the ball against the Niners. The Niners defense is not what it was in past years, but it's still good enough. Zeke Elliott, he looks slower than the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz. I could run faster than he is right now. Tony Pollard, as good as he is, he's a little bit banged up. This short passing game, it's not going to work all day against San Francisco. And, they've completely taken CeeDee Lamb out of the lineup. They just refuse to use him. No Michael Gallup. So I think this is one where the Niners are going to, they're going to let the dogs off the leash. They're going to run their horse, and I think Dallas is going to be in for a problem. Oh, by the way, let's not forget one thing. As great as a year Trayvon Diggs has had with 11 interceptions, it's all pomp, glitz, and glam, because anybody who's been following the NFL or been following this closely knows Diggs has allowed the most yards by a wide margin as a cornerback. He has allowed over 1,000 yards in coverage this year. That's outrageous. He's allowed 1,000-yard receiver on his own. That's outrageous. Give me the Niners. I'm hammering the 3. I'm hitting the money line pretty well too. One thing for the Niners that bothers me, we got to keep an eye on left tackle Trent Williams. He's the type of guy, he's one of the best offensive linemen in the league. He's the guy that can move the needle a little bit, maybe a half a point. So keep an eye on that. One last thing, Jerry Jones verbally expressed his worry about Greg Zuerlein. Kicking game becomes a big factor in the postseason. We've seen this. They're not confident, which could force Dallas to be more aggressive on 4th downs, go for it when they should kick, and that could very well alter the game plan. Give me San Francisco. Your Honor, no objections. Love to see it. Hey, guys, guess what? We have the NFC West rivalry. Our teams, Nick, this is a rivalry. I'll let you kick this one off. The Arizona Cardinals 3-match versus the LA Rams.
I thought I saw a comment on Twitter from Jay Henn. Did he send any comment in about this game? Thought he might have sent something in, but we'll see if we can get that. He was chiming in. He loves his NFC West being out there in 49ers land. But this one, it's an easy pick. The Cardinals got the Rams right where they want them, and that's on the road. So they are a much better team on the road this year. Give me the over on J.J. Watt sacks. I think it's at 0.5. So he'll definitely be sacking Matthew Stafford. I don't know. The way Stafford's been playing here has just not been good, as Johnny's checking out some Instagram stories.
I'm checking it out.
But yeah, I think the Cardinals are going to win this one. Let's go with the over. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. Odell Beckham Jr. will play good, but I think ultimately Stafford, who is probably not going to MVP. Sorry, Johnny. He's going to throw a big pick at the end. And Kyler Murray is going to throw 2 touchdowns. He's going to run for 2 touchdowns. And the Cardinals will be advancing, and they could thank J.J. Watt for coming back off the injured list and being the veteran leader they needed. What do you think, Joe?
I agree. I think this is going to be the highest scoring game of the weekend. I think this game will easily get into the 30s. I really truthfully think it's a toss-up. I think both teams are very even. I think the Cardinals have been a little more shakier down the stretch here. And I know the Rams haven't necessarily played well. And I mentioned before that they lost to the 49ers, but it worried me. If you're looking to bet on the Cardinals last week, that game against the Seahawks at home, rivalry game, those two teams always, for some reason, play really wacky, but really, really good, close, tight games. It would bother me if I was a Cardinals fan, the way that they ended the season last week playing against the Seahawks, who had nothing to play for. And what a lot of people are starting to assume is that maybe Pete Carroll is on his way out. Maybe Russell Wilson is finally going to force a trade. it seems as if the Seahawks are at that point. We're at their crossroads. So that Cardinals loss does no favors for them. But I do think this is going to be a high scoring game. I believe the spread's 3, right? So it's, depending on which way you look at it, like I said, it's going to be a 3-point game either way. But I'm going to pick the Rams here. I think they're good enough to get it done. Cooper Kupp had a sensational season. Whether that was because of Matthew Stafford, we don't know. He did have Calvin Johnson, but like I told Nick yesterday, it takes 2 to tango, right? You need a quarterback and a receiver to have a great duo. So Kupp had an outstanding season, and I do think that this game is going to get well into the 30s. So I like the over here. I like over 50. The line at the bottom says 4. I saw it at 3, and I've seen it at 3.5 in some spots. So, but if that's the case, then I'll hammer the Cardinals +4, and I'll take the Rams to win the game, and I'll stick by the 3-point pick.
Not to toot my own horn.
No, because you don't love doing that.
Not to toot my own horn, but there is no person in this industry, in the entire industry, that has a better read on the Arizona Cardinals over the last month than me. Every week, you read my articles on NBC Sports. Every week, I literally give a blueprint on what's going to happen, and it happens. Win, lose, cover, anything. Fade. This is the grand finale here. As a guy I work with says, you only have one chance. You only get one chance to fade Cliff Kingsbury in his first playoff game ever in the NFL. Here's the bottom line. The Arizona Cardinals have come ass backwards into the playoffs. They don't look good. D-Hop might come back, maybe not. He's not healthy. J.J. Watt, he's come back. That's a miracle, with his shoulder. And, we don't know what he's going to look like. I hear what you're saying about the Rams, but at the end of the day, they've been my pick all season, way before preseason. You guys know that. They've been my preseason pick. I'm not jumping ship. The way they played the last time is what I expect. If you've been following the Rams, they've been really recommitting to a heavier ground approach. They've been running the ball over 25 times per game over the last 5 weeks. That's what they had to do. Now they get Cam Akers back. Super Cam coming back from a torn Achilles in the same year in 6 months is like Adrian Peterson-esque. That's unbelievable. So what I think is going to happen is they're going to go heavy at the ground game, which, by the way, Arizona is very, very vulnerable with. Just FYI. They're 0-4 this year when they allow a team that have 30 carries or more. So heavy ground approach. And quite honestly, bro, Stafford's been awesome this year. Stafford's not going to win MVP, but it doesn't make sense to me because he should be top 2, top 3 at worst. Cooper Kupp, how is he an MVP candidate over him? Cooper Kupp never had more than 1,175 receiving yards in his career before this year. Stafford has produced the 2 greatest receiving seasons ever, and Cooper Kupp is not even close to being a top receiver
Randy
in
Moss
this
and
league.
Brady?
In terms of yards, buddy. Yards. The 2 greatest.
We're talking about yards.
Yards. Cooper Kupp's not even better than Robert Woods, his teammate. Kupp and Stafford just ate breakfast every day in the summer. I didn't know that. How would I know that? What Kupp did is what I expect from Woods. Nonetheless, the one thing that concerns me about the Rams is not Stafford. It's not their offense. It's not their offensive line that kind of caved late in the game. It's their middle of the defense. When you want to attack the Rams defense, it's in the middle. Aside from Aaron Donald, they have nobody in the interior of that defense. More specifically, the linebacking core. They're slow. They're soft. They suck. That's where you attack. Kyler Murray could have some good success with Zach Ertz. I expect him to run around. Ultimately, though, I cannot fade my team. I'm going to go with the Rams, money line, to win at home and advance. In terms of the spread, it's a lean right now. You'll get my write-up on Saturday this week from my true destination. But early look. You know what, man? I'm gonna take the Rams -4. I'm gonna say the Rams rebound in a big way. Sean McVay, let's go.
I just want to know how many tweets you're going to be sending out during this game. I think there's going to be quite a few.
60. It's going to be the only game.
We got somebody who's commenting, trying to get on the show now.
We do. You know what? He's coming in time. Did he say Stafford's overrated? You know what? I'm going to keep you off the show. That's what you get. That's what your ass gets. Never sound overrated. He's not overrated. I literally don't get it.
Well,
by the way, real quick, hold on. Real quick note. Give Aaron Rodgers, give Stafford, give Joe Burrow, give these guys the same amount of attempts Tom Brady had, and we'll see how great their numbers are. Stafford was top 3 in every category. Every big category he was top 3 in. And I think he had 118 less attempts than Tom Brady. So just FYI.
I think Rodgers should be MVP.
That's the only guy I could truly say. The only guy I could truly say I'm okay with him winning over Stafford. Honestly.
Joe, can you say something about this? You're cracking up on that.
Why is this funny? I literally don't understand.
Johnny, what did you bet Stafford at? Like plus 10,000? Like what?
No, I got him at 1,500, 1,600.
I agree with Kyle. I think he has the most rational approach here. We were talking about this at
Kyle
the
letting on the show.
I know, but he commented and
let's bring him in.
Well, now would be the time, right, gentlemen? Hey, how is everybody doing? Good to see everybody at the tailgate.
Kyle, you are one tall dude. You're a
Why are you here? Why are you here? You said you were out this week.
Well, because I had to go run to take care of some things because I'm heading up to Foxwoods this weekend for my 30th birthday.
Ooh.
So
yeah,
so I have to tidy some things down. Yeah,
Kyle
thank you.
refused to come into the Bucks Jets game because he said he had to save his money for Foxwoods.
That's right. I wasn't buying a ticket to a game where I knew the Bucks are going to win, but I missed out on the Antonio Brown shenanigans. I mean, that was probably worth the admission.
Me and Joey Calz rose 6 right behind the Bucks bench.
Worth the price of admission there. Let me tell you. Oh boy, spiraling out of control now.
So Kyle, why Stafford? Who's gonna win? Rams and Cardinals, and why is Stafford your MVP?
Well, I think it's still going to be the Rams that get the victory here. On wildcard weekend, but I'll give them the 7 points just because of what Johnny said, that the Cardinals are basically coming ass backwards into this playoffs right now. They just don't look
7?
right.
Were you getting 7 points?
Well, because I see that the Rams are -4, so I just like them to cover by 7. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So I can't buy the Cardinals. The Cardinals have just been a complete, a complete S show right now. They look as bad as the Rams have also looked at certain points this year. At least over the last 2 games, they've sort of put it together a little bit. I mean, obviously they should have beaten the 49ers, but the 49ers are really coming on as a team themselves right now. Really, really believing in themselves. And like Johnny said earlier, I don't know about 2007 Giants, but they're definitely a team I would not want to play if I'm in the NFC, just because of the way that they got in there. They have a real legit fight going on right now. As for Stafford, I mean, give me Rodgers, Brady, or Burrow. Honestly, because Stafford has basically had an all-star team the entire year, and Aaron Rodgers has Amari Rodgers as like his number 3 receiver or number 2 receiver, and that was a draft pick this past year. And there's plenty of other receivers more highly touted than him. So as far as I'm concerned, Rodgers has done more with less. Brady, clearly he's got an all-star team, but the difference is he's actually kept the Bucks consistently at the top, where we don't have these embarrassing showings like that we quite frankly have gotten from the Rams. They should have destroyed Tennessee when Derrick Henry went out, and the Rams just laid an egg that Monday night. And again, I'm a Titan fan, but I'm completely honest about it. That's just the way that I saw that game going down. And now you got Joe Burrow. I mean, you got a 3-headed monster in a receiving core there in Cincinnati, but as far as I'm concerned, here's a guy that came off a devastating knee injury. We didn't even know if he really was going to be the quarterback we projected him to be coming out of college. And, comes back from a devastating knee injury. He should get the comeback player of the year instead of Dak Prescott. No question in my mind. And he's just truly shown how tough he is and how much he wants to win for his home state. And, maybe he's Browns fan, maybe he wanted to win for the Browns instead, but at least he's he's in his home state. He's doing what he's got to do. And I'm a Joe Burrow fan, big Joe Burrow fan.
Honestly, bro, like I hear what you said. Joe Burrow has had a great year, but like he's had a lot of bad performances, a lot of shaky ones. Like I had the Browns going to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. And quite honestly, the Ravens and the Browns got killed like no other team. There's no other team in the NFL aside from the Ravens and the Browns, that have dealt with more ridiculous amounts of injuries and COVID. Therefore, the Bengals were very fortunate to be in the position that they were in. Chances are, like, they're not going to win both games against Baltimore. If they don't win the second game against Baltimore, then that last game against Cleveland actually matters. Like, it just, the Browns missed all their guys. If they're not missing all these players, they're winning games like against the Raiders. And one game, win or lose either way, makes a big difference in the AFC North. And he's had a couple big performances. But honestly, like, he really came on strong the last couple games, which is awesome. You got to see him in the playoffs. Like, I love it. I'm with you. He is the comeback player of the year, no question in my mind. But to me, he's not the MVP. He didn't have a better overall year than Stafford start to finish. Stafford struggled in the middle of the season, but let's not forget, the time he started struggling against the Titans was the same time they lost Robert Woods. Robert Woods is a huge piece of what they do on offense, not just in terms of his production, but the blocking, the motions, like taking attention away from other guys. Like, he's a big guy. Brady, they had a easy schedule as well. He's had a lot of weapons. Like, it's only recently that his main guys started getting hurt. And statistically speaking, he's thrown the ball, I think, 54 times is the difference between him and Herbert, who's number 2. That's a lot of attempts. Rodgers, like I said, is the only guy I'd feel comfortable saying, yeah, he's the MVP over Stafford. He beat him head to head. And, like, listen, let's also not forget here, Rodgers does have Tay Adams. He has a strong running game, and he's got a really good overall defense that's been awesome, even without their two best players in Zadarius Smith and Jair Alexander. But Rodgers,
one less game, Rodgers too.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I have no problem with saying Rodgers wins it over Stafford. People are like, Jonathan Taylor's the MVP, Cooper Kupp's the MVP. I'm like, bro, how would you give Cooper Kupp, who's had by far one of the best seasons ever, who's had by far his best season ever by a wide margin, over the guy that got him there? Like, that is my thought process.
To be fair with Jonathan Taylor, though, I would at least give him some kind of MVP consideration if the Colts would have actually won the last 2 games by a decent margin. And also, he goes off for make the playoffs, and Jonathan Taylor goes back for back-to-back 125-yard games and multiple scores.
The Colts choked, been out of the playoffs. Let's not talk about them. We got the 2 games.
Hey, I love it.
I want to ask Kyle.
I love it.
Everybody else answered at the beginning. Kyle, how much does BDE matter in the playoffs?
Oh, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. And there's nobody with more BDE than Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or Joe Burrow. Why do you think I mentioned those 3 as my MVP? Because the BDE off those guys is radiating, okay? You could laugh and roll your eyes like you're a high school girl blushing, Johnny. But you know what? The fact of the matter is that those 3 guys know what it takes to win in primetime and clutch situations. So those are the 3 guys that, quite frankly, I would fear them. If I'm a defender on an NFL team in the playoffs right now, I'm fearing those 3 the most, more than Matthew Stafford, plain and simple.
I disagree there, but
you could disagree all you want. But as far from what Nick asked with BDE, I'm giving you the example. I just see those 3 as the upper echelon of BDE energy. Matthew Stafford is a very under the radar kind of.
He threw for almost 41 touchdowns and almost 5,000 yards. I don't know how you're that underrated.
But no, not underrated. I said he's
under the radar.
Under the radar. Yeah, there you go. Fix it.
Good God. Okay, then. Well, that brings us on to our next point here. The best time of the day, the Gambling Guineas best betting trends. Let's go. You heard it. Niners +3 at the Dallas Cowboys. This is my bet the house play. Absolutely love it. I haven't had too many of them. Aside from like all the in-depth detail that I went into with the actual matchups, one big thing that I like since 2017 under Kyle Shanahan, the San Francisco 49ers are 16-10 ATS as a road dog. That's pretty impressive, considering the fact that he's more impressive as a road dog than a home favorite. I think this is a really good spot. I think there's just so many exploitable matchups. To me, there's multiple paths to victory for the Niners. and there's only one path to victory for Dallas. The path to victory for Dallas is to get up early, attack the passing game, and keep the Niners everything in front. That's it. That's my play. Joe, bless us for our emerging player of the night, brought to you by Emerge Sports Group, our boy Jahan.
It's got to be Nick and I, our guy, Rob Gronkowski. So it was well documented. Adam Schefter tweeted this out. Mostly everybody knows this now, but Gronk going into the game on Sunday needed 7 catches, I believe, to reach a $1 million incentive in his contract. And yes, he did it. It took a little while, but he stayed in the game. The reason why Tom Brady stayed in the game against Carolina as long as he did was because he tried to get his guy Gronk the incentive, which was a success. And there is also an all-time stat that Gronk had. So, Nick, you want to share that as well?
Yeah, of course. Chris Gronkowski, his brother, on this show, on our show. So good guy there. But yeah, Gronk, and you can go check out his highlights on his YouTube channel. Great video there, edited by yours truly. But he tied the record for most 100-yard receiving yard games for tight ends with Tony Gonzalez. I'll break that. And, he hits its incentive catches, and he actually, what he missed, like 6 games this year. So he's tremendous, and I think he will factor in greatly into the playoffs, no doubt about it. And Buccaneers are going to beat the Eagles big time.
Yeah, 7 receptions and 85 yards Gronk needed for that game on Sunday, and boy, did he deliver big time.
I think starting with last year's Super Bowl up until this season, and again, he missed 6 games, but was still able to hit those incentives, which is pretty great. I think at this point, I think we can now establish that Rob Gronkowski is definitively, I think, the best tight end to ever play the game. I think in terms of receiving, him and Brady have elite chemistry that only a few guys in the NFL history can match. Johnny shaking his head. You're wrong. He's the best blocking tight end. He's won Super Bowls. He's been capable of putting 1,000-yard receiving seasons together from that
purely
position.
Dominant.
He's simply the most dominant. His presence alone has swung at least 3 or 4 postseasons.
When him and Aaron Hernandez,
in the NFL has,
Joe, to your point, when him and Aaron Hernandez were on the field, I know Tony Gonzalez, but when him and Aaron Hernandez,
Tony is great,
but when him and Aaron Hernandez were on the field, you had to essentially create a matchup nightmare to have to try to cover 2 tight ends that could play like wide receivers, and you couldn't put linebackers.
What are we talking about Aaron Hernandez?
Look, I'm just making a statement of why Gronk, because
Gronk's the greatest.
Look, Gronk is the greatest because he had to just create matchup nightmares everywhere that he was on the field at any given time. Any given time, it didn't matter what personnel was around him. He always has to be double covered or triple covered, period.
There was a guy called Tony Gonzalez, who is the best tight end of all time, who, by the way, was one of the pioneers of the tight end position in revolutionizing it to what it is today, when Gronk was still picking Swedish fish out of his braces. So, you know what? I would also like to mention that Tony G was putting up 1,000-yard seasons in the early 2000s. You know what I'm saying? Like early 2000s, like the tight end was a blocking position, red zone only, maybe pick up some tough third downs. It was not a seam stretching matchup nightmare. And let's not forget, he played with the Kansas City Chiefs. He played on a lot of bad teams. He played with a quarterback by the name of Trent Green for a lot of his career, who was maybe generously slightly above average at best. He didn't play with Tom Brady. Imagine what Tony Gonzalez does with Tom Brady most of his career. Tony G's putting up 1,400 yards every season with Tom Brady and 15 tutties. Like, Gronk's a great tight end. I would probably say Gronk will finish as the 2nd or 3rd best tight end of all time. He is not better than Tony Gonzalez. Production-wise, yes, he's more productive maybe, but he's not better. Talent-wise, Gronk was awesome at his peak, and he did it, even he had some years where he was very banged up and like he looked like he was done, and he retires, comes back. He's still, pretty good, but he's not Tony Gonzalez. I will not accept this blasphemy on this program.
Kyle, you think this has anything to do with the fact that Johnny is a Falcons fan?
It has nothing to do with
Yeah,
that.
and especially that Tony Gonzalez went down to Atlanta and played for
Nothing to
Matt
do with
Ryan
that.
for a little bit. I mean, that's just me. I mean, Matt Ryan.
Nothing to do with it.
He finally had a quarterback throwing to him, right? And Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
So
He did, but nothing. He had nothing. That has nothing.
By
to
the
do
way,
with it.
congrats to Matt Ryan, ninth all time in passing touchdowns now. Let's put him in the Hall of Fame, Johnny.
I'm upset. You know why I'm upset? Because he was, I think, like 32 yards shy of his 11th straight 4,000-yard season. It would have been one short of Drew Brees.
Calvin Ridley not being there definitely
because
hurt.
Calvin Ridley goes on sabbatical, just decides to quit football. Kyle Pitts, we couldn't ask too much. Like Arthur Smith's play calling is just idiotic. His personnel groupings are even worse. Matt Ryan's number one receiver for a lot of the time was Russell Gage. So you know what? Hopefully, I think Ridley's on his way out, by the way. He's done. Like, I think he's gone. And honestly, mental health aside, like, hopefully he's okay. But, you know, he dragged it out. The Falcons were going in for the playoffs. I don't want a guy that quits on his team. Like, I just don't. Take a few weeks. Like, it was bad timing. He could have did it over the summer. Like, I just have a lot of, like, what did he do to get himself better? And, like, there's been no reports. They said nothing about it. I think he's out of Atlanta. I think it's a mutual thing. He wants out. I think they probably want him out behind closed doors. Wish him well, but I think that's just the way it's got to be. So Atlanta is now going to be in the market for number one receiver because they lose Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley possibly in back-to-back seasons. Amazing. But as we're approaching the end of the show here, Nick, kick us off here, buddy. What's your final thoughts heading into Wild Card Weekend?
All rise. Well, not anymore. I'm shocked. Joe Judge was fired today. Gettleman's gone, thank goodness. The only thing left is to get rid of Daniel Jones, who, if he's your quarterback, not only will he miss 4 or 5 games, but you will not win any games. He's terrible. Joe's getting all choked up about it. Me too, because I don't want Daniel Jones back. They're going to hire the assistant GM from the Bills. They're going to hire Brian Dabble as the head coach. And I think Mitch Trubisky is going to play quarterback for the Giants. That would be a huge upgrade over Daniel Jones, no doubt about it. Shake your head till you want. The guy took the Bears to the playoffs twice. So tremendous talent there. He runs around. He's better than Daniel Jones, I think. Daniel Jones is not going to win. But I'll just give my picks for the rest of the games here because we didn't run through all of them. But Bills are going to win over the Patriots. I said the Bucs are going to win. I think the Chiefs are going to win. And looking forward to the week after. I wish this week was the divisional round already, not the wild card round. Don't like that week 18, but we'll get used to it, and then it'll be week 19 the year after.
On my next? Is that how this works? Okay.
Yes.
First of all, quick disagreeing with Nick. We don't disagree on much. I don't think there's much difference between Daniel Jones and Mitch Trubisky. I'm sorry. I just want to get that out there.
Daniel Jones misses like 5 games a year. Trubisky never.
Well, that's a big thing. I mean, you want your guy to be able to start 16 games, but let's be fair. Daniel Jones hasn't played the last however many weeks for the Giants, and they've been deplorable and putrid without him, right? So at the very least, we know there's some baseline of talent there. Now, you want to debate how much talent he has. That's fine with me. I don't think he's a consistent NFL
Get Russell
starter.
Wilson.
Right. Absolutely. I think that's a much better, more optimistic view for the Giants. But Johnny, I tweeted this out, whatever it was, either Sunday or whenever. It might have been Saturday after it was implemented, but Saturday was the official start of sports betting in New York State. And let me tell you something, I'm already sick of it. I am done with this. All I know is we know that Twitter and we know social media is like this hub now for people who are fake experts. They want to pretend like they know what's happening, right? I have never seen more screenshots of missed parlays on Sunday than I did in my whole life. And let me tell you something. Yes, some parlays included the infamous Raiders and Chargers tie scenario that did not happen. So in that sense, it's brutal and you laugh it off. And, some of them are funny to look at, but I don't want it flooding my timeline. Are you kidding me? I don't care what your picks are. I don't care what your record is over the season. I feel like we've reached the point here where the market is oversaturated, and it's like I said, you're going to see a lot of fake experts, a lot of fake gambling experts that aren't like my gambling guinea. Okay, I know there's one guy who I'm going to go to, who I'm going to trust for my picks. And in closing,
don't bet parlays. Parlays are for losers.
Parlays. In closing, I'll make a quick Jets remark. They have 2 top 10 picks. A lot of people think they're the 4-win New York team that's trending in the right direction. I thought Zach Wilson looked better, but in order for them to really turn the corner, Joe Douglas, he absolutely needs to land 2 NFL starters with those 2 top 10 picks. And if he doesn't, it will likely be the end of him as GM. So our Giants and our Jets were not good this season, Nick. Hopefully that changes next year. I think the decision to fire Joe Judge was correct. I thought year 1, I think he looked solid. I think they had some momentum. I think they had some things to improve on, but it was a total disaster year 2. They went backwards in every area of the football team, and he lost the locker room. And when you lose the locker room and you lose the faith of the ownership, you're going to go, right? So the Jets still have their coach. People are saying they're trending in the right direction. We'll see. But it's like I said, they have 2 top 10 picks. They have the opportunity here to do something really great. So let's hope the Giants and the Jets are better next year.
Just chokes me up. Hold on. I just want to say I'm very choked up, Joe. Thank you.
Very emotional.
Very humbling. Very humbling.
Very emotional right now. You got Johnny all choked up. I think that's the first time I've ever heard him speechless. Anyway, so Giants fans, hold out for Sam Howell in your 2022 NFL draft, right? No, wrong. Giants, you're just going to be suffering through ineptitude for another 2 or 3 seasons, at least in my mind. They can have all the draft picks at draft capital they want. There's no righting the ship right now. There's really no candidates out there that really excite me if I were a Giant fan. So I think it's going to be
How about Jim Harbaugh?
Well, or John Harbaugh. Or no, that's Jim. You're right. I'm sorry. But Jim Harbaugh, honestly, if I were Harbaugh, stay in Michigan. Go try to get that natty. I know it's tough, but hey, we just saw it last night that the big bad Alabama can be beaten, right? Like, who saw that coming? I didn't see Georgia beating Alabama last night. Go figure.
I did.
The refs wanted Alabama to win, right, Johnny? The refs, they were trying to have the Crimson Tide win.
That first half.
No question.
Those ACC refs in that first half, there were, and I hate complaining about the officiating because it's like,
I love it. Are you kidding me? I love it.
It's
what makes
like,
our jobs.
It sucks. Like, nobody likes the person who complains about the officiating, but every now and then there are moments in games where you're like, what are you doing? There were at least 5 straight calls, flags thrown Georgia's way. Nothing was getting called on Alabama. It was like so obvious that they were trying to make themselves part of the storyline of the game. Get the hell out of here with that nonsense. All right, Johnny, take it away.
Well, real quick, I want to just thank my wife for setting up the Foxwoods trip that she did for me for my 30th birthday.
Happy birthday, Kyle.
Happy
birthday, kid.
I'm looking very forward to it, and should be a great time on Saturday. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited for Wildcard Weekend. We got a lot of great stuff going. And as you guys know, every week I put out my weekly taste on NBC Sports Bet, on NBC Sports Edge. This week, I'm doing 3 articles. I'm doing one for the Saturday games, one for the Sunday games, one for the Monday night game. Also, Sunday morning, be sure to check in on NBC Sports Edge betting Twitter account. I'll be on a Twitter Spaces on Sunday talking some football, so be sure to tune into that. But aside from that, man, I got to say, I always say I majored in sports betting and fantasy, but I minored in TV and film. Peaky Blinders, my favorite show. Season 6 coming out in a few weeks, early February, they said, less than a month. Very excited for that. Also, Righteous Gemstones on HBO, Season 2. It's with Danny McBride, a.k.a. Kenny Powers. That is a very underrated show. Season 2 just came out. Can't wait to watch it. But yeah, guys, look forward to this weekend. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Don't forget, follow us on Twitter. I'm at _JohnnyVTV. He's at Nick_Durst. And we got Joe at JCalabrese1. You know I'm Right podcast with Nick and Joe. Don't miss out. Your boys are going to get on for baseball season. Thanks for joining, everybody. See you next week.